Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Treasure Peter. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I really appreciate. If today is your first time of coming across my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe. Today I'll be making this beautiful red dress. It's a corset dress with queen hand neckline, and I made use of Duchess fabric and this beautiful baby lace. Do well to stick around to the end if it's something you're interested in, and do not forget to like and also drop a comment. Please do well to drop a like because it will help YouTube to recommend this video to more people. And also don't forget to subscribe if this video was of value to you, and also drop a comment on the comment section. I'll be waiting to reply to your questions. Whatever you want to ask, I'll be waiting to respond. Thank you so much and keep watching till the end. Welcome back once again, guys. So to make this gown, I'll be drafting it first on this pattern paper before transferring it to the fabrics. So for the materials needed, I made use of 1.5 yard of Duchess fabric and 1 yard of lace. So guys, let's go straight into the drafting of this gown. The first thing I did as usual was I kept my pattern paper at once. I did not fold it into two because I didn't want to waste the pattern paper, and I drew out my starting line. This is going to serve as the starting line, which is also the shoulder line. From the shoulder line, I proceeded to measure from the shoulder to the under bust. For my client, it was 15 inches, so I marked at exactly the 15 inches point and drew the line across. From the shoulder line also, I proceeded to measure from the shoulder to the waistline. It was at 17 inches, so I marked it and proceeded to draw the line across. And then I measured from the shoulder to the hip line at 25 inches. I marked it and also draw the line across. So note, this is a gown and there is no way I can mark the full length of the gown because my pattern paper is small. So because of that, I'll be stopping at the hip line and I'll cut it out at the hip line. But when I'm transferring it to the fabric, I'm going to make sure to continue the measurements from the hip line. So I proceeded to label the lines: the shoulder line, the under bust, the waist line, and the hip line. The next thing I took was the shoulder measurement divided by 2 from the center line. I marked what I had, and then I went ahead to measure the neck width at 3.5 inches, and then on the shoulder line I came down with 1 inch for the shoulder slant and connected it back to the neck width. Then from the shoulder slant, I proceeded to mark the armhole. So in order for you to get the armhole or chest line, go ahead to measure your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever you have, go ahead to mark it as your chest line or armhole depth. So I went ahead to mark what I had and then connected the line in a straight line like this, and also proceeded to label chest line. On the chest line, I measured the shoulder measurement divided by 2 and I drew a straight line to connect to the shoulder slant like this. Went ahead to determine the midpoint from the shoulder slant to the chest line. I marked what I had and then came in with 1/2 inch. And then on the chest line, I also measured the bust circumference divided by 4, and then I proceeded to connect to form the armhole. This is like repeating what I usually do on my channel most times, but I'm just doing it for beginners' sake because I believe beginners will be watching. From the shoulder line, I measured 6 inches to form the neck depth. I'm actually going to reduce it later on because I feel 6 inches was actually too high. I marked it and proceeded to draw a straight line across. From the neck depth, I came down with 2 inches, meaning if I'm starting from the shoulder line, it will be 9 inches. And then I went in with 1/2 inch at that point, and then I proceeded to draw it out like this, just like we usually do when we are making a corset. So the next thing I did was I measured the bust span or nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2, which was 4 inches for my client, and then from there I connected it to meet up with that point in order to form the cup area. using my French curve. So at this point I made use of the fullest part of the French curve because I wanted it to really come out full so it can accommodate the breast. So the next thing I did, also from this point, note where this shoulder is, I went ahead to also connect a curve to meet up with the bust span, and I also made sure to use the full part of the French curve so I can get a better result. At this point I had to reduce the neckline again to 7 inches because I felt 6 inches would be too high. So you can take whatever neck depth that you want to use. I made use of 7 inches, so I had to cancel out this part because I'm not going to be making use of it. So from the shoulder line I proceeded to mark out 1 3/4 inch. This is 1 3/4, that is 1.75, and then connected the neckline to meet up with that center part just like this, so it will form a sweetheart neck. And then from the 7 inches neck depth I connected it to meet up with the neck width at the top part. This is to form the queen Anne neckline effect. So I connected it in a curved form, not a straight form. So guys, I proceeded to measure the bust circumference divided by 4. I had already measured it and I added extra seam allowance of 1.5 inch. I also measured on the waistline the waist circumference divided by 4. I marked what I had and also added seam allowance. Note, we are not going to be adding that to this gown. This is because the Duchess material has this stretchy effect already. I proceeded to connect from the bust line to the waist line, and then on the hip line I also proceeded to measure the hip measurement divided by 4, added the sewing allowance. I marked what I had and also connected it to meet up with the waist line. So guys, that is all for the drafting of this pattern. I'm going to go ahead to cut it out at this point, so just watch how I'm cutting it. At this point I had to draw out the neck to extend it towards the armhole because this is how the inspiration was. So I just had to use my free hand to just draw it out like this. So there was no particular measurement, I just went in towards the armhole like this, and then I continued with my cutting, cut out this part and then also cut out the breast cup part. After cutting everything out, this was what we had. I'll proceed to place it on the fabric in order to cut it out. So the first part I'm cutting is this down part of the gown. So I'll just go ahead to extend the length of the gown, and I'm starting my measurement from the waistline. So from the waistline I proceeded to measure the full length of the gown I wanted to make use of, and then I marked what I had, and then I went ahead to cut it out at that point. So guys, note I had pinned it down first before doing the cutting. So at this part I'm going to be adding the joining allowances because it's very necessary. So I added ½ inch at the cup area, ½ inch at this upper part, and then ½ inch at the center part of the front. Note that I placed the fabric on fold and I did not add any allowance at the side because I had already added my allowance on the pattern paper. I proceeded to extend the down part in this manner. I didn't make it a pencil gown because it's already very short. So this is it. I went ahead to cut it out. So guys, I went ahead to also cut out the cup area as well as this neck part. So I used my lace fabric to cut it out as well as the Duchess in order to line it. So guys, I had gone ahead to cut out the sleeves of the camera. For the length, I made use of the normal long sleeves length, but I added extra 2 inches because I wanted it to flow better. And then for the width of the down part, I made use of 11 inches, which is about 22 inches. And then I just made it to be a bell sleeves where I slanted it to this upper part. I've done lots of tutorials on how to make sleeves. If you do not know, I'm going to link it on my description box below so you check it out. Guys, for the back side, I proceeded to just place my fabric on fold, and then I went ahead to draw out the starting line. From the shoulder line, I measured the shoulder to the waistline. I marked it at the waistline, and also proceeded to measure the shoulder to the hip line and also mark it across. From the center of the back, I proceeded to mark out the zip allowance using 1.5 inch. I had to pause to measure the length of the gown first before proceeding. I marked out the length of the gown, and then I went ahead to also mark the zip allowance at that area. The shoulder line, I measured the shoulder measurements divided by 2. I marked what I had, and with 1 inch for the shoulder slant, and I also marked the neck width of 3.5 inch and just connected it to form the neck. So from the shoulder slant, I came down with my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5, and at that point I also marked the shoulder measurement divided by 2 and connected it back, and then formed the shoulder slant. Next thing I did was to measure the bust circumference divided by 4 and then curved it to form the armhole in this manner. Then I had to place the front pattern to trace out the back, making sure that the waistline of the front aligns with the waistline of the back. Then I proceeded to just trace it out and cut it out. I added ½ inch allowance at the shoulder for joining while cutting. From the hip line, I just went ahead to place the front part on the back part in order to make it to align, and then cut it out. So I went ahead to also open up the zip allowance part, and note I'm not going to be adding that to the back also. So because of that, I'm going to be taking out the dart at the zip allowance point so that there will be no bulginess around that part. Guys, it's time to start the sewing. I went ahead to unpin the cups. Note I added allowance round the cup part also. So guys, you need to take note of the position of the cups. Note where each side of the cup is supposed to be positioned. So at this point, I was just trying to arrange them to show you guys how it will be positioned. So guys, it's time to start our sewing. So the first thing I did was to work with the cup areas. I had gone ahead to cut the Duchess part as well as the lace part. First, I'll go ahead to sew around this cup to secure the Duchess to the lace fabric, and then I'm going to be making use of this lining. I had to cut out the linings to use and turn the cup part as well as the neck part. This was what I had after securing it. The next thing I'm going to do right now is use my hemming gum to turn the neck as well as the cup part. So I'll be turning this neck part with the lining, just the neck part, and I'll also turn the upper part of the cup area, also using the hemming gum. As for this down part, I'm not going to be turning it, so I'll go ahead to do that off the camera and show you what I have. For this part, I went ahead to cut a facing for it, so I'll just go ahead to turn it, join it first, and then turn it over to pipe it just like a bias. For this back part, in order to eliminate zipper bulge, I had to come in with 1 inch at the waistline, and then I'll just connect it towards the hip line in a slant form, and also towards the upper side in a slant form. So this is just to eliminate zipper bulge so that it will not be folding around that waist area. So this simply means that I'm going to be extending the zip allowance part inwards. So instead of taking the former zip allowance, I'm going to be coming inwards towards the waist part, and that is where we'll be inserting our zip from. So the former zipper allowance lines is not going to be used again. Then I proceeded to cut it out. I've gone ahead to cut the facing for the neck, so I'll just start my sewing. The first thing I'm going to be doing is to take out the zip allowance part. So for the zip, I took about 20 inches for the length of my zip from the neck, and then I'm going to sew it down, and then I also go ahead to turn the facing for the neck and then show you guys what I have. Here are the cups. After turning them, I had also gone ahead to top stitch on the round part, and I ironed it very well. I had also piped this part. So the next thing I'm going to do is to attach the cups before attaching the neck. So to do that, I went ahead to pin it from one edge to the other. You can go ahead to just sew it round. It's going to align. So after pinning it down, I'll just go ahead to join it off the camera. Here is it after joining it. At this point, it's very important to weave this under bust part. It is very important so you have a neat finishing. The next thing I will do is to attach this neck part. I had also turned the neck part, so I'm going to be attaching it to this part. As you can see, I had turned that part, so I'm just going to top stitch on it, to just sew and top stitch on it. That is all. So it aligns with my armhole, so whenever I'm attaching the armhole, it will align. So that's all. I'm going to do that off the camera and show you guys what I have. Here is it after attaching the neck. We are almost done. This gown is very simple to make. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join the back neck, the back shoulder to the front shoulder. So I'm just going to attach the front shoulder to the back shoulder, because I had gone ahead to turn the neck line of the back, and I also join for the zip allowance part. So I'll go ahead to just join the shoulder to the shoulder, and then I'll show you guys what I have. Here is it, guys, after attaching the shoulder. As you can see, I had to use the facing to turn it in so it will be neat. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just join the sleeves to the armhole part. So I'll just go ahead to do that off the camera and show you guys what I have. Here is it, guys, after attaching the sleeves. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to close the side. So you can go ahead to fix your zip at this point before closing the side. This is an invisible zip. I'll just go ahead to fix my zip, then close the side. I have a tutorial already on my channel on how to fix an invisible zip, so I'm going to share the link on the description box. Just check below on my description box. You see the link to the video in case you're interested in watching it. So at this point, I had to pin it down first before closing the side. So I'll just go ahead to close the side with my client's body measurement. So this is it. This is the gown after I was done closing the side. I also proceed to hem the down part and also fix the zipper. And that will be all for this gown. So for this part, I also went ahead to make this rope. This is for the center part. The length of this rope is about 33 inches length. You can make yours to be the length that you desire. So I'm just going to sew it at this front side to just make sure that you stitch it very well, and this means that we are just going to tie it to just bring out the style, and that is it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've watched up to this point, this is the final look of this gown. I'm also gonna head to weave. I did my weaving and the gown was very beautiful. It was very beautiful. This is actually the final look, the outcome of this gown, and I'm going to show you guys. I know I showed you guys in the beginning on my client's body, but I'm still going to also show you guys again in case you've forgotten how it looked like, so you guys will see how it fits. This is the invisible zip. See how beautiful it is. See how beautiful it is. It was fixed very beautiful and very neat. If you've not watched the tutorial on how to fix this invisible zip, please do well to watch it. This is my client rocking it. Thank you so much guys for watching up to this point. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you've not, and also turn on your notification bell icon so that whenever I drop a video you'll be notified. Thank you and see you in my next tutorial. Bye.